Hi and welcome to another video update from the Fire Brigade Union. We're joined by General Secretary Matt Rack, where we're going to discuss the current political situation in the UK. Matt, really all this stems out from the recent EU referendum. Now, first of all, the union's executive and then our annual conference recommended that members should vote Remain. However, the result speaks for itself. Now that we're talking about Brexit, what do you think that's going to mean for the fire and rescue service and indeed mean for the work of the union?
Well, I think, Tam, the whole political world's turned upside down as a result of the referendum. We did, on balance, recommend that position, but I think we would have to be clear that I suspect our members are as divided as the rest of the country, in terms of those who voted Leave and those who voted Remain. It would depend where people live, all sorts of issues. We're a UK union, clearly the vote was very different in Scotland and Northern Ireland than it was in most of England, but London was different. All these factors. And I think the first thing the union has to do is try and unite people, that make sure that working people, firefighters and our public services don't suffer as a result of whatever the outcome is. So with others in the trade unions, we've been saying that the trade union should play a role in negotiating the process of leaving the EU, that workers shouldn't pay the price, there shouldn't be any further attacks on public services, on pay and pensions as a result of this. Pleased to see that George Osborne has withdrawn his threat to introduce an emergency budget. That's welcome. But there is going to be economic turmoil. There is already economic issues that are emerging, and we need to see that the voice of working people is heard throughout this process.
And how do you think that would transpire? For firefighters out there watching this, we want to have a say in the negotiations. How's that going to be done? Through the TUC?
Yeah, I think there's clearly a role for the TUC representing all workers and the Scottish TUC and ICTU in Northern Ireland. There's a voice for workers' organisations to have a say in what's being negotiated with the EU. We've taken a position that there should, we're not calling for a second referendum. That's the decision. Whatever people think of it, the decision was made, and we have to respect democracy. But then there's some very difficult processes in terms of how the UK actually does go about leaving the EU. In terms of the fire service, again, if there is an economic downturn, then that affects tax income, and then there may be further pressure on public services. I think people will have seen in the press already, there's some discussion around that. Is the NHS, for example, going to be in a worse position? So we need to make sure that fire service isn't, because the biggest cost in the fire service is our members and their pay and conditions.
Yeah. Now, out of this whole process, of course, has come immense political turmoil. And the loss, first of all, the Prime Minister has resigned, and of course now we have a situation where the leader of the Labour Party is under quite a tremendous attack. You've obviously been very vocal throughout this, and firefighters would have seen you in national media. Exactly why have you been at the forefront in defending Jeremy Corbyn?
Well, I think it's not a matter for me, it's a matter for the union as a whole. The union took a decision to support, through our structures, to support Jeremy Corbyn campaigning for the Labour leadership. Jeremy Corbyn came to the union's conference and got a huge reception, not because of who he is, but what he was saying about the fire service. For the first time we had someone saying that he would stand up for the fire service. He said he would rebuild the fire service. He understood the level of cuts that we've been through. He understood the attacks on our pensions. He understood the issues we've got around floods and other new areas of work, or developing areas of work. And that's had a huge echo. So Jeremy Corbyn, for example, went up to Cumbria to visit our members. When the Prime Minister deliberately ignored the role of firefighters, Jeremy Corbyn particularly approached our members in Cumbria and then in York in the floods over the winter. So he's made those commitments. He's supported us through thick and thin. We've got the best dialogue, by the way, with a Labour front bench that we've ever had. In terms of, we don't agree on everything, but it's about making our case and making sure that people are listening to our case, so that going into an election we would have FBU policies and the sort of things we want to see in a manifesto in there, put before the people for election.
And what do you see? How do you see this transpiring? I mean, currently as the situation stands, there's been numerous MPs had a vote of no confidence in Jeremy Corbyn. He's currently under pressure during the course of the leadership. How do you see the events unfolding?
Well, I think even at this stage I'd appeal for unity in the Labour Party and among Labour MPs. Jeremy Corbyn was elected with a huge mandate only last September. Unfortunately, it seems some people have been planning this for a long time. I think the reaction out on the streets among Labour Party members and ordinary people, we've seen demonstrations. I've never seen demonstrations for a political party leader before. That's quite remarkable. So I would appeal for people to calm down, rally round the elected leader, and if there are issues and disagreements, then you debate those as we do in the Fire Brigade Union. We don't all agree, we debate them out calmly, and we try to come to a resolution of them.
Matt, thanks very much indeed. For further updates, please go to our website, that's www.fbu.org.uk, or you can follow us for up-to-date information on Twitter, and that's @FBU National. Or we also got a Facebook account, and that's simply the Fire Brigade Union. Until next time, thanks very much.